Now on Denver 7 News at 4, a little bit of Colorado gets another chance at space tomorrow. How Air Force Academy cadets played a role in this mission.
You can now detect a deadly disease at home with just your smartphone. We'll show you how that technology works. It was recently approved by the FDA and the impact that it could have on saving lives. When we think about flooding causing issues with our home's foundation, drought is also raising these concerns right now. What to be watching for at your home.
But first, Denver homes staying on the market for weeks instead of days.
It is leveling out, which I think is healthy for the market.
The concessions some sellers are making to get their homes sold faster.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Micah Smith. The Denver housing market is shifting, favoring buyers more than it has in the past 2 years. Inventory is up 17% from this time last year, and houses are staying on the market for an average of 25 days in Metro Denver. That's according to DMAR, the Denver Metro Association of Realtors. What was a very strong seller's market is now leveling off. Real estate experts say seller concessions are also a big part of the equation right now. Buyers requesting cash at close from the seller.
Maybe we would go in at list price, and then we would ask for a $7,000 concession. At the table, it goes straight to the lender to buy down the loan for a lower interest rate.
Instead of reducing the price, they may offer a concession to a buyer to buy down the rate, and they still have these comps from the past 6 months that are still going to support that high value.
Experts say in some cases, concessions like these can save home buyers $250 a month on their mortgage by lowering their interest rate. And with interest rates rising, there are increasing questions about the possibility of a recession. The Colorado Futures Center at CSU released its Colorado Cast economic report today, looking at our state's financial, labor, and housing markets. Experts say they see some bright spots.
And those bright spots are that we've been adding jobs at a pretty healthy rate, and that the Colorado consumer has largely held up, that there's just a bit of warning on the horizon, that we need to be prepared that some of the headwinds that are facing the national and the world economies that we've heard about, inflation, the war in Ukraine, supply chain issues, are starting to hit the Colorado economy as well.
Phyllis Resnick believes we will see a slowdown in the Colorado economy, but she's cautiously optimistic our state will avoid a recession. NASA will try again tomorrow to launch its Artemis 1 mission. It was supposed to launch earlier this week, but it was postponed because of 2 problems. One of the 4 engines wasn't cooling down to the proper temperature, and there was a crack in a vent valve in the inner tank. Engineers have repaired the crack and determined the sensor on the engine was not working properly. The launch is scheduled for just before 12:30 tomorrow.
The launch team is very confident. They have, to use a Southern term, they have looked at it from izzard to gizzard, and they're very confident.
From izzard to gizzard. Well, if all goes well with tomorrow's launch, we could see the first pictures of Earth from the Orion capsule tomorrow night. The rocket is expected to spend 6 weeks orbiting the moon before returning to Earth. The Orion space capsule on top of the rocket was mainly designed by Lockheed Martin engineers right here in Colorado. Some elements like the heat shield and back shell were also made here. The capsule is the area where the astronauts live and is about the size of a college dorm room. In fact, cadets at the Air Academy helped out with the design and even found an issue with the capsule that NASA hadn't caught.
The Orion system showed a separation issue from the capsule. So cadets discovered that, shared the data with NASA, and that system is now on the Artemis system.
Being able to contribute to our national space program is really a privilege.
The Air Force has worked with NASA for 25 years to make the Artemis rocket a reality.
Today we're learning more about what the FBI found when they searched former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate last month. 33 boxes were taken that had newspapers, magazines, and clothing. But the Justice Department says the most notable thing was dozens of empty folders marked classified and top secret. Even though they were empty, they say it indicates information being hidden. The DOJ is investigating Trump for removing White House records when he left office. People are returning to work in large numbers. Almost 800,000 Americans just last month, according to new data that came out today. And while more people are working, Overall, it's still lower than it was before the pandemic.
There are still a lot of factors driven by the pandemic and the experience that we've had over the last 2 years that is keeping labor force participation down. The most prominent example is long COVID. That's still a huge question mark over how many people we can actually get back into the labor force over the long run.
The U.S. could not add enough jobs to keep up with all the new workers. Unemployment's up to 3.7%, which is the highest it's been since February. It's a side effect of the fight against inflation. When the Federal Reserve raised interest rates this year, leaders said the move would likely lead to layoffs and higher unemployment, which would lower demand and hopefully bring those prices back down.
Continue to see the job gains continue to be strong, and sort of the wage increases continue to be there. To me, that signals that the market is still relatively hot. But then again, it's sort of coupled by the fact that you did see this sort of tick up in the unemployment rate and the labor participation rate, which to me signals that we may be on a path to sort of moderation over time.
More women are self-employed now than they were before the pandemic, and that is a new finding coming from analysis from the Center for Economic and Policy Research. Black and Hispanic women make up the biggest increase, but researchers say the reason for this may not be as simple as seeing success in business. The pandemic has created a huge lack of access to affordable childcare, and many women report working for themselves to have more flexible hours. Now, you may have noticed fewer spam text messages recently. RoboKiller has been tracking this. They say there was a 9% decrease in August, which is the first decline since April. However, robocalls did increase by 12%. RoboKiller does not expect the break in robotext to last, unfortunately. Now, a growing number of new moms are experiencing postpartum depression.
Our community is held up by moms. We run the household. We make sure everyone's okay. And when our mental health is not well, that's when the kids' mental health start going, or the husband, or the community as a whole.
Now more moms are coming together to keep each other healthy and safe.
And it's been a big week for one of Colorado's newest hospitals. Ahead on Denver 7 News at 4, current Lutheran Medical Center employees leave a mark on the new facility that will last far into the future.